Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Elam Road podcast, where in today's show we're going to be reflecting on a 3-1 victory against Southampton yesterday. We're recording this Sunday morning, bright and early. If we look a bit tired, we apologise for it, but we just thought, well, I've got a pretty hectic work schedule this week, and I think the boys might have too. So I thought there's an opportunity to do it, Craig, and I know that it's not even 10 a.m. on a Sunday morning, but we're chatting bees. How are you doing? You all right?
Oh, mate, living the dream. 10 to 10 on a Sunday morning to podcast talking about the bees. What could you want?
Listen, content comes first. We've said it off air. The content comes first. Just before we get going, remember to drop a comment down below, subscribe to the YouTube and Spotify channels, and also give us a follow on our socials. I also do need to do another shameless plug for my new YouTube channel. I'm not sure if people watching would have noticed. Well, they might have, because I got a few subscribers on there yesterday. But I've launched a new YouTube channel under the handle MikeLivein5. It's going to be something a bit different to the podcast, just where I can react to some news, maybe do some tactical bits here and there, and potentially in the future maybe talk about the wider Premier League and stuff like that. So yeah, MikeLivein5, YouTube and TikTok. Give it a sub. I saw you've subbed already, Craig, which I love to see. And yeah, it's hopefully going to be a lot of fun. So keep your eyes peeled for some bits on that. Let's kick things off, not with Tweet of the Week this week. I've decided, Craig, and I've not told you about this, when we win or when there's nothing to talk about controversially wise, or controversy wise, I should say, I think we should do a news section at the top. Maybe just the biggest couple of stories or the biggest story from Brentford that week. And then when we lose, when the toxic tweets start coming in, I feel like that's when we do Tweet of the Week.
Sounds like a good idea.
Well, we probably should do Tweet of the Week when it's good as well, because we need to reward Brentford fans for their sensibility at times. But sometimes it is funny. Go on.
I did see, literally straight after the final whistle, Nat, he was stood next to me going on Twitter, and the first tweet that he saw under the Brentford's win tweet was Flecken had one job to do to keep a clean sheet, and he couldn't even do that. Come on, boys. Come on.
I thought it was decent. I thought he made some good saves.
Yeah.
But yeah, news section this week. We'll kick things off with a final word on Ivan Toney. Obviously, the move to Saudi Arabia was made, was confirmed on deadline day. He's gone to Al Ahly for a fee of around 40 million. I can believe it dragged all the way to deadline day, but it was almost a little bit uncertain. Obviously, there was that interest from Chelsea. We kind of said on the last pod, for his career, it'd be much better to go to Chelsea, but he's going to go to Saudi Arabia. He's going to get the bag. Thoughts, Craig? We've spoken about it a little bit, but now it's confirmed and he's gone. What do you think?
So, firstly, I know there's a little something that you did yesterday. You slid into a little bit of a DM just to see if we could sort something out. You know what? Ivan Toney, the greatest striker we've ever had. Unbelievable footballer, incredible goal scorer, the best to ever wear the red and white stripes. Good luck to him. He's obviously chosen the money route. He set his family up for life. He's chosen that money route, and then he's going to make a shit ton when he goes. Early on a Sunday morning, makes a ton of money when he goes out to Saudi, and all the best to him. Unfortunately, the stuff off of the pitch tainted what could have been, a fairy tale story of a Brentford player. But I'm glad it's all done. We can move on now. The Ivan Toney era, as you say, has ended, and we move into the Bryan Mbeumo era, which is going to hurt me when he leaves next season or the season after as well.
Yeah, we're going to get onto Bryan, but if he carries on at the rate he's at the moment, there is no doubt that he's going to be a big target for teams next season. Just on Toney quickly. Brentford's best ever player. There was a little bit of debate in the tweet that I sent out on the Elam Road podcast Twitter account about, I think someone maybe said that Watkins was better. Someone said that Raya was better. Someone said that Stan Bowles was better. I'm not going to debate Stan Bowles because it's a bit before my time. But best ever Brentford player, I think he is. What do you reckon?
I mean, he sits in the category up there with so many players. When we did that tier list, we put him so high on that list as well. So he's football-wise, he's fond in the hearts of every single Brentford fan because of what he did on the pitch and where he got the football club to, and how he got the football club to where it is today. But Okay, let's focus actually on that because we're saying best Brentford player. I don't know. He's up there. He's up there. But when you can compare him to the likes of Ollie Watkins, David Raya, who is completely different position, but he's the best goalkeeper we've ever had. Maybe he's the best striker we've ever had, the best forward player we've ever had. Maybe not the best Brentford player we've ever had, but he's certainly up there for sure. What do you think?
I think in terms of ability, in terms of goal scoring ability and all-round game, I think a lot of people would actually say Ollie Watkins may be a more all-round striker, but for me, I think Toney's got everything. In terms of his athleticism as well. I remember saying on the pod, I actually think he picked up a few yards of pace last season when he came back from the ban. Obviously, that didn't translate into goals, and he had a bit of a stinking last from January to the end of the season. I mean, he scored 4 in his first 5, but he wasn't that great in his first 4, apart from the Man United game. But in terms of technical ability, hold-up play, finishing, movement, I was watching the Everton game last night, Match of the Day, and the chances that they had in that first half that Calvert-Lewin didn't finish or he didn't get across his man, I was thinking, if that's Toney, every single one of those, that Toney in the season when he scored goals, every single one of those chances is back of the net. His movement is insane for a striker. Those positions, like I took it back to, there was a chance in the Everton game where Calvert-Lewin just doesn't get across his man to get the back stick, and it just reminded me.
Harrison put the ball across, doesn't he? For that one? Right at the start. And
it just reminded me of Ivan Toney's goal against Man City, when he has that much faith in Josh Da Silva to get past Manuel Akanji that he makes that run before he's even made the movement, and he's in there and he's behind and he scores and he's got a tap in. That's the difference for me between someone like a Calvert-Lewin and a Toney. So yeah, I think if we're saying, and if I've said before that I think he could cut it at any club in the world and score a lot of goals, then I don't think I've said that about a Brentford player before. Like we raved about Saïd Benrahma. Obviously, his career's not really worked out, but I wouldn't have said like he could do it anywhere. And I genuinely believe Ivan Toney could do it anywhere. So yeah, I think close that chapter. Fantastic player. Not bitter about the way it ended. Obviously, we have our gripes with what he said in the interviews. It's a bit of a shame that he's gone to Saudi, but he's going to earn a fuck ton of money.
The greatest thing is we don't have to play against him either.
Yeah, exactly. No celebrations in front of the West Stand. Christ alive. That's not going to happen. Thank God for that.
Play against him. Thank God.
Let's move on to the other big bit of news this week. It kind of broke a couple of days before. Aaron Hickey is out for the season. An Instagram photo of a I assume like a surgeon in Finland, I think it was, or Iceland, or somewhere in Scandinavia, broke a couple of days before Brentford actually fully announced it. There was quite a few people fretting about the recency of it, whether it was genuine. I think someone even actually did some proper investigative digging and went back to a photo that guy had posted with Reece James, then went back to how long Reece James was out for, and then obviously did the mental arithmetic, the mental gymnastics to figure out that it was going to be a lengthy spell on the sidelines for Aaron Hickey. Yeah. He's going to be out for most of the season. What was your reaction? I was in the car when I saw the banner come down because I got notifications on Brentford's tweets, and I was just like, "Oh no, God!"
Well, like you say, it broke before Brentford announced it, and there was someone who sent the guy who posted the picture a message as well, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Saying, "Is this from today? Is this from today?" And he says, "Yeah." And you're thinking, "Oh God, here we go again." You know, when we didn't see him at the end of last season, I was thinking he's going to be out. He's just going to be one of those players that we'd never see. And then he wasn't back for the start of this season. And then he wasn't back before the international break. And then the news breaks that he's going to be out again for the majority of this season. He's up there or level on par with Josh Da Silva as our most unlucky player with injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel absolutely gutted for him. And I feel gutted for us because it means that we've lost our main right back. You know what I mean? And it wasn't a position in which we strengthened during this transfer window. Even though Van den Berg can play right back, which I hope we see him do a little bit more as well. But what I will say on that is I think Roslev did really well yesterday. After all of the grief and gripes we've given him, he did really well yesterday. But I'm absolutely devastated and gutted for Aaron Hickey. And I hope that this is what fixes the problem that he's been having. And when he comes back, let's chuck an extra year or two on his contract, get him back up to where he was, and then we sell him on for a load of money, as we do.
Yeah, I think as well. I'm just a bit worried about where he goes from here. Like, I know he's had the surgery and obviously 2 pretty big injuries, but I think the first prognosis wasn't too bad, and then it got worse, and then he had to have surgery, and now he's had surgery again on a different area of his body. I just worry about missing 2 years of football back to back, and I know Josh Da Silva's done it, and then he's gotten injured again. I worry about his longevity now. I feel like, yes, we can give him a new contract, and we should give him a new contract, because it wasn't long ago that it was Man City that were talking about him, and that move never really materialized. But there were rumors about Man City wanting him. But I just worry about it. I feel like as a young player to have that many injuries, he's still so young. He's only like 22. Yeah. So it's devastating for him. Absolutely gutting for him.
Well, but it's probably lucky for him that it has happened so early for him in his footballing career, because if he was 28, 29, then you could argue that's his career done now. He wouldn't play football again. But fortunately for him, it's happened to him early in his footballing life that he can bounce back from this, and I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will.
Let's hope so. There's one other little bit of news that I think we should talk about. Obviously, we were active on the last day of the transfer window, including the sale of Toney, but we also brought in 18-year-old Jayden Meghoma from Southampton, the left back, who is a bit of an unknown. I can't lie. I had to do a bit of reading into him after we signed him. He's only made 3 first-team appearances for Southampton during his time there, but I did a bit of reading, and he's quite highly touted as a really talented left back. He's played at England at all the levels, so his experience in terms of that. It doesn't sound like there's succession planning, but I would have thought that there'd be succession planning for the right flank as opposed to the left. Yeah. But I know Rico Henry's not getting any younger, and obviously he's got a terrible injury record.
Yeah.
But I don't know whether it's smart business or not. Because Dan said the same thing in the WhatsApp chat. He said, if he was that good, why hasn't he played more games for Southampton? But what did you make of the signing?
I think you're totally right that I think we're focusing on the wrong side defensively. The right back cover is something that we probably should have looked at. But then when you think about it, we've got Mazrozlev, who obviously on his day is really good, but that day doesn't happen very often, unfortunately. Chris Ayer, who went off injured again yesterday in the 40th minute. And then you've got now Van den Berg, who can also step in and play at right back. And if we've got the 3 of them, then maybe that's why they're looking at the possibility of strengthening on the left side, when our left back cover is a right back and a centre midfield. So it kind of makes sense when you think about why we've gone down that side rather than the right. But the Southampton have had Kyle Walker-Peters. I don't even know who plays on the other side for them. But they've had an abundance of defenders. When you look at their squad list, it's just basically defenders. Yeah. So as a youngster, I see why he hasn't come through so quickly. And when you think about defenders, you look for experience. Aaron Hickey is one of those rare players that at 20 years old, he's starting in the Premier League. You look at experience for defenders, and he's one of those ones that we will morph into a Premier League fullback. And he did when he did his first interview, which Brentford, by the way, posted before they'd announced the signing of him, which is the most Brentford thing that they could have done. He said that he is going to be faster than Rico Henry and Kevin Schade. So we'll see
that. That's a bold claim. That really bold claim. But give him his props. Maybe he is. But yeah, I'm hoping we see a little bit more of him this season. Obviously, Rico Henry is going to be back hopefully after the international break. I think he played a behind closed doors friendly this weekend or last week, or he's due to play one soon. Yeah. So yeah, it looks like it's one where we don't really know. We've spent 10 million on him. He's highly touted. I think there are other clubs trying to get his signature, but we've taken him from Southampton. So definitely one for the future and one to look out for. But obviously, we're very much awaiting the return of Rico Henry. Right. I feel like we've rabbited on there for 15 minutes and we've not spoken about the game yet. One last thing if anyone knows how I get Ivan Toney on the Ealing Road podcast for a no holds barred tell all, let me know. DM me and we'll find out. I'm gonna maybe message some of the contacts or some of the players that we've had on the podcast and see what we can do. But that'll be a fucking good podcast, Craig. I think that'll be a brilliant podcast.
I think I'll be here for that one.
Yeah, we will be there. Right, Craig, Southampton. You mentioned it on the immediate reaction video, which is live. Go check that out if you haven't already. Routine win. Initial thoughts?
At 3-0 up, we was joking saying it's our most routine Premier League win since we beat Southampton 3-0. And and it's exactly what it was. It was simple. I was thinking about the immediate reaction video and how it wasn't that long compared to the Liverpool one, which had a few more talking points, even though we've won 3-1. But it was so simple for us. It was so simple for us. We let them have the ball. And even though we let them have the ball, they didn't do anything with it. They didn't do anything with it at all. And when they tried to play out from the back, I'm telling you now, Russell Martin, in his post-match interview, said that he is going to carry on doing that. If they play like that against Liverpool, against City, or against Arsenal, it is going to be a lot more than 3 goals. And it should have been a lot more than 3 goals yesterday. But I'll still take it. Yeah, simple.
Yeah, the post-match interview is weird because I said it on the preview pod with Martin Sanders, who was really good, by the way. He was a really good guest. If anyone's not seen that, obviously don't go watch the preview. But for the next time we play Southampton, he's really good. So I'd recommend tuning into the preview that week. But we said it on the last pod. It's going to be another Burnley, and I feel like that's the narrative. They don't have the players or the quality of players to be doing that. But I said it on the last pod. It could be similar to the Burnley at home game last year, and it was literally a carbon copy of the game, even from the goals. The stubbornness and the style of play that got caught out on 2 occasions, and then obviously the long throw as well. But I do think, and I was watching Match of the Day last night, and I was watching Thomas Frank's interview after the match as well, and he said that we're one of the best pressing teams in the league, and for some reason, and I know Brentford fans get really wound up about Match of the Day sometimes in terms of their running order and who they give the limelight to in their analysis, but there was nothing on how good we were in the press. And Thomas Frank, I thought that's what they were going to segue into, because Thomas Frank, the last word was, we're one of the best pressing teams in the league. I was like, right, they should definitely pick up on that because that's a really strong line. But they didn't, and they just focused on how poor Southampton were. But I did think we were absolutely relentless in that press, especially in that first half. Yeah. Damsgaard was on fire. Sharda was on fire. And just the patterns of the press as well. We were so confident in every phase of who we're going to, who that sets up behind them. It's I just thought it was really funny. It's just I thought it was just really biased analysis, to be honest. But you know, I'm trying not to get too excited again. We were really good, Craig. We were really good, but it was Southampton. They have lost all of their games.
Yeah, it was Southampton, and we gave them their first goal of the season, which, by the way, was a fantastic finish from Sugawara. Yeah, was such a great finish from them. To catch it on the outside of your foot on the half volley while the ball is dropping and get it away from the goalie into the far corner off the post.
Yeah, goal of the day.
Great finish. Yeah. If this game is anything to go by, they're in a lot of trouble for this season. If this game is to go by, they're going down. And it's weird because they had a lot of chances. They had 18 shots on goal in that game. 18 shots on goal, 6 on target, and obviously the one that went in right at the end. Yet, I can't remember a chance that they created. They
weren't clear cut. He has to score chances.
Well, one chance. I think it was one chance in the first half where Adam Armstrong is inside the 6-yard box and completely misses the ball, but somehow misses the ball, hits his back leg, and then deflects away from Brereton Diaz, who, by the way, dreadful footballer, was good behind him.
No, I said this on their podcast. I was like, they've recruited in different areas, all a little bit differently, but they've not splashed the cash in terms of like big marquee signings. But they need better options than Adam Armstrong and Ben Diaz up top. I actually think Ben Diaz is a decent Premier League player. I think his goal record for Sheffield United last season in a struggling team was... You're laughing at me, but his goal record for Sheffield United, I think he's one of their better players. But Adam Armstrong, he is the definition of championship striker that comes.
Oh yes, oh yeah.
They needed to make a signing, especially in those forward areas, something that was a little bit bigger than sort of picking up players for 5-10 million. But yeah, no, if that game's anything to go off, they're in big trouble this season. But you mentioned they did have chances. Go on.
Well, I was going to say, just going on what you said from the match of from the high press of what Thomas Frank said in the match of the day, not really focusing on it. If you watch the highlights, any chance that we had came from a high press. The first goal, Damsgaard nicks it, great player. Second goal, Damsgaard nicks it, amazing player. And then the third goal, it comes from a quick throw-in phase of play, which Ramsdale probably should have done better with. Should have probably got a stronger hand to it. But again, Whistle's in the right place at the right time, and he's got to be there. Excuse me, sorry. But it was close to being the perfect home performance that we could have asked for. Maybe we started to slack off a little bit towards the end, a little bit of a lapse in concentration, letting Lallana run through and get a knockdown like that. But it was almost a perfect home performance. We didn't even need to have the ball to beat them. They just played themselves into so much trouble that all we had to do was be in the right place, and Damsgaard was in the right place to be able to nick it off of them, because they were dreadful. They were absolutely dreadful. But on the flip side, we were really bloody good yesterday.
Yeah, we were. We definitely were. You mentioned Damsgaard there, and I'll let you take it away with Damsgaard, because right from the off, he was best game in a Brentford shirt, I would say. I would say, because he was electric. Our first chance came from his 2 touches in midfield, which was just unreal. I think Kevin Schade lays it off to him. He knocks it away from the first player and then gets it past the next with 2 really quick touches. But he's really good in those tight situations. And we're finally starting to see that player that we saw in all those compilations, or all the compilations that I watched when he was getting past players, and his 1v1 ability and his successful dribbles, because he was, every time he got the ball yesterday, it was like, okay, what's he going to do? How good was he? I know you're his biggest fan, so I'll let you wax lyrical about him.
So there was one thing missing from his performance yesterday, and I'll let you take a guess as to what that was.
There always is, mate. There always is. A goal.
It was a goal. And I am praying to any god that's out there to let him score. Please just let him score. You know, I'm dying for a Damsgaard.
He had a couple of chances as well. Like, he probably should have scored. He probably should have scored.
Ramsdale made a really good save quite early in the game, where I think Damsgaard's nicked the ball again off of one of their defenders, played it into Bryan. Bryan's laid it off to him. Great touch past the defender, and Ramsdale's just out very quickly to smother the ball. It's probably his best game in a Brentford shirt. But do you remember the Fulham game when he had an absolute blinder as well? That was one of the ones that was up there. But I'm gagging for a Damsgaard goal. I really, really want him to score. And if there is any performance which deserved a goal, it was this one. And it's coming. He's getting into the right places at the right time. But yeah, I think he set his own standard last season, didn't he? When he had like a run of 10, 15 games where he was fantastic. I don't see a way in which he doesn't start the next game.
Yeah.
But because of the formation changes that we're going to have against Man City, I don't see him starting at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But he needs to. And he was man of the, I don't know how he didn't win man of the match yesterday, but because Bryan scored 2 goals, obviously he had to win man of the match, according to Brentford Twitter fans. But Mikkel Damsgaard, take the plaudits, man. Fantastic performance. And I hope that when he gets his first goal, it kicks him on to get a few more, because I'm here for it.
We're way more attacking in midfield when he starts.
When he's on,
when he's on, we're so much more, like, it gives us, because he's more attacking than Jensen, and it's probably, you would say, if in a normal midfield 3 of Norgard, Janelt, and Jensen, you'd say obviously Jensen's probably the more advanced of the 3, but he does like to drop deep and come into those pockets either side of the centre half sometimes to kind of dictate the game. Whereas Damsgaard, he doesn't really do that. He's more of like a player that operates in the half spaces, takes on the half turn, or just gets himself out of tight situations, and then we go. And he's just like the one to start the move. Whereas Jensen is like kind of orchestrating it from the back. And yes, he does like to get forward and he can pick a pass. But in my opinion, we've said it for ages. Damsgaard's more of an out-and-out 10 than Jensen will ever be.
Absolutely. Mike, you watched the game yesterday, obviously.
Yeah.
Sorry, something's really tickling in there. It felt like Jensen spent more time deeper than Norgard did, but that was because when we would pick the ball up, it would be 1, 2, 3 passes from like Jensen to Collins to Flecken, and we're out. And it worked for us perfectly yesterday, where when Jensen would drop deep and he would pick the ball up, it would be 2, 3 quick little passes and we'd be able to play out. And the problem with that is when we have the midfield three that you just said of Janel, Norgard, Jensen, we've got 2 defensive midfield players who are already deep lying, plus then Jensen, who likes to step in and receive the ball. It means that we have 4 defenders, 3 defensive midfielders because Jensen steps in, and then 3 offensive players. So there's just a huge gap. But because Damsgaard likes to stay forward and he likes to get forward, there's a link between the defensive midfield and the forward players. And he did it perfectly yesterday. Spot on, he did it.
I hope he can nail down a position in the starting 11, and especially with the injuries that we've got at fullbacks and the worries there. And we've said it before, Janel is a fantastic player to have utility-wise, but I would argue that having a midfield 3 of what we had yesterday was maybe the most positive we've been so far.
Yes. My worry about Janel is he's a great utility player to have. He can play midfield. He's played at centre-back a few times. He plays at full-back. But when I watch him play and when he's in that defensive third, I just don't see the right kind of football brain, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
He put Flecken under pressure so many times yesterday with soft back passes, where there was one in the first half where he's played it through about 6 players to go back to Flecken, and Armstrong's already pressing the goalkeeper, putting him under unnecessary pressure. He needs to think about the things in the passes that he's making, because if he could get the ball out or he could make the right pass into the forward places, he could be the perfect left-back cover that we needed.
Yeah, 100%. And there's no slight to Vitaly Janel. Like, I think he's a fantastic player.
Yeah.
I just feel like, especially the fact that he can play in different positions and do a job anyway. And I feel like Thomas Frank definitely realizes that. He's probably one of his main men. Like, him and Janel are kind of, if they're fit, those two, him and Norgard, sorry. So Janel and Norgard, if those two are fit, I feel like they're more often than not, those two are going to play. Whereas Jensen has been dispensable at times. So Thomas Frank definitely realizes that Janel's an asset to the team. And we've said it so many times, like, he's great to have in the side because he can cover in different positions. But just in those areas, sometimes when we've already got Norgard, I'm not sure if it's necessary to have another player who's not as technical as someone like Damsgaard, basically. Yeah. Let's go on to the goals, because I feel like we have been natting away for a while now. We'll talk about the first 2 together because they were basically the same goal, essentially. It was a slightly up and down start. You mentioned their chances, but like as the game went on in the first half, I think we kind of grew into it. Bryan punishes them after Damsgaard wins it back from the press. Shard has a shot, rebounds off the post, and Bryan's there to get the finish in. That finish it's harder than it looks, and I would have seen Bryan spurn that chance maybe last season or the season before. And I think the second goal, almost a carbon copy of the first. But again, clinical from Bryan. Like, absolutely. I don't think I've seen that level of finishing from him consistently in a game twice for 2 chances, especially that first one. It comes back to him quite hard, keeps it down, and there's only a little sliver of the goal that he can put it in for it to go in, and he does it. And then the second one, first time finish beyond Ramsdale, he's looking really good, worryingly good. No, I'm glad now the window's shut. We can say that. But wow, he looks on fire, Craig.
100 million again. Look, it all started from the man himself, Mikkel Damsgaard, pressing them defenders outside the edge of the penalty area. For both of the goals, he was the player that won it back. And Jensen wouldn't have done that because of how he likes to be a bit of a deep lying ball playing midfielder. So I don't think anyone else in the team that I think of might have been able to press them as high as what he did. So dues again to Mikkel Damsgaard. But Bryan is just, he could score 20 goals this season, and I fully believe it as well. He could score 20 goals this season as one of those forward players. And Kev, unlucky, by the way, to not put that in the near post, hits the foot of the post. And again, I think we said it after the Palace game. It's a little bit of luck which has fallen our way. Because last season, there is no way that ball hits the post and bounces straight to Bryan. There is no way that happens last season. But that's because what was we talking about in the Palace podcast where we said a little bit of luck and there's another goal for us. And then it happened again yesterday. Things just seem to be turning in our favour, and I'm absolutely here for it. I love it. Bryan Mbeumo is going to score. He's going to score 20 goals this season. I'm putting it out there. He's absolutely
it's a big claim. It's a big claim.
And we said it last season. Right. He is more important to us than Ivan Toney is. Yeah. When we lost our Bryan Mbeumo last season away at Brighton, that ruined us because it meant we had no offensive output. He is our best player at the moment, Bryan Mbeumo. I'm pointing because I've got a picture of him on the screen because
well, no, you're absolutely right. 101 games in a B shirt now, 45 goals and assists. It's an unbelievable record. If he stays fit this whole season, I've been putting him in the shop window in every podcast that I've done this season to say that he's going to have a standout year, and he is doing that. He really is.
3 goals in 3 games.
3 goals in 3 games. He's doing bits for my fantasy team.
He's got 38 goals this season.
Yeah. Let's move on to the third game. Third goal. Sorry,
third goal.
That was an ode to Bernardo Cueva. I thought nice to see us get off the mark on set pieces this year without our set piece coach that we had last year. High quality chance. I was listening to a podcast the other day about sort of Brentford's set piece record. I think it might have been on the Tifo Football podcast, and they were talking about the long throws and the value of them. And it was a podcast with XG Philosophy, which I actually plugged on our Twitter account. On the James Lawrence Alcott channel, or the Ripple Effect is his podcast. For anyone that's interested in XG, I would 100% recommend to go and listen to that, because I actually had no idea that the guy that runs that account is actually a Brentford fan. So we should go on.
James Lawrence Alcott, great, by the way, absolutely great channel, and I love all his videos. But he is a QPR fan.
He is a QPR fan. Yeah, no, he is. He is a QPR fan.
Yeah,
He makes some good videos. I like his podcast. But yeah, no, the XG Philosophy is he's a Brentford fan, so we did defo try and do a collab at some point in the future. But they were talking about the long throws and their value of them. Pump it into the box and you get high quality chances in close situations where there's a lot of attacking players in the box. And I can't remember who gets the flick. Is it Pinnock that gets the flick?
I think so, yeah, because didn't Collins end up on the floor at the front post as well after tangling with one of their defenders as well?
And then Wissa's just arriving late and he's doing what he does. And it's just another great game from Wissa. Another, like the way that we've started the season. And I know that you can't take too much from it because we have played Palace, who have lost both of their games so far, and Southampton, who have lost all of their games so far. So
you can only beat who's in front of you, Mike. You know that.
You can only beat who's in front of you. But I'm just seeing things that I didn't see last season, which is nice. Definitely seeing a lot of things I didn't see last season, especially attacking wise. And let's just hope that those fringe players like Damsgaard can hold down a name in the squad. Go on.
It's the little bits of luck as well that we're getting. Like I say,
you were about to burst into a garage song, mate. You did it the last time, and it threw me off with a little bit of luck. I thought you were about to start MCing. Last answer, and it threw me right off. You said with a little bit of luck, and I was like, "We can make it through the night."
Should we talk about things that we didn't get last season, which should help us this season?
Yeah, for sure. Should we talk about Ramsdale? We've mentioned their goal. We've talked about Bryan. We've talked about Thomas Frank a little bit. Actually, yeah, let's not talk about Ramsdale because it was funny. Giving it to the home fans. He always does it when he comes to the Gtech. I feel like he does it everywhere. But you've talked about him before, and that it riles up the fans. And if it was the other way around and we were maybe losing and he was giving it to us, then it gives you impetus to chase the game. And I like it. I like the shithousery. And he had a laugh with it at the end of the day. So fair dues to Ramsdale for that one. Let's just
on that. Sorry, Mike. Before you move on, I know that obviously, unfortunately, you can get down there. But after the game, at the final whistle, I don't know if you know this or if you've seen it. At the final whistle, Ramsdale turned around to the Brentford fans in the West Stand and applauded the fans, and all of the fans in the West Stand applauded back to Ramsdale. It was fantastic banter between the fans and the goalkeeper through the game, and then again a combined acknowledgement between the two. It was a really good moment as well. So credit to him. But let's not talk about it for too long.
Yeah, 100%. Callum's going crazy right now if he's listening because he absolutely hates Ramsdale.
And I
But
don't think he was there either yesterday. Where was he?
I don't know. I don't know. Let's talk about Thomas Frank. I mentioned in his post-match interview that he said he genuinely believes that we're one of the best pressing teams in the league. And just as a final note on this, it just made me think a little bit when I heard that. I was just like, well, if you think we're one of the best pressing teams in the league and we go up to Liverpool, why not? Why not give it a go? In their second game under Arne Slot, why not just go a little bit more higher up the pitch? And I know they've got, it's a different caliber of player compared to what Southampton have got. And they probably do have the players to pass it around like that. But when you've got Bryan Mbeumo and Kevin Schade and Mikkel Damsgaard and Johan Wissa pressing you, it's not easy. And I think that's what they kind of neglected to mention in Match of the Day, that if, Thomas Frank's saying we're one of the best pressing teams in the league and we've got a front three that are absolutely rapid, it just made me think, we ended up losing 2-0 and we were well beaten, really. It was comfortable for them. But if we're giving them a go, maybe it would have worked. I don't know. But, I want to see maybe Thomas Frank's belief translate onto the pitch. Maybe, it's all well and good saying we're one of the best pressing teams in the league when we're playing Southampton. But does that translate to the other teams when we press against them?
All right, well, let's just build on that then. Do you do that at City? Do you go and do that at Man City?
No, of course not. No.
So obviously there are games in which it's relevant and games in which it's not. Because if we did that in 2 weeks against Man City, we're going to get walked over because of how quickly they can press as well. But I think that we could do it at Spurs. I think we could do it at Spurs. And I reckon it'll be silly of us to not do it. I go into 2 weeks, by the way, I go into Man City with zero expectations, and I don't want to go because I don't want to take away that feeling of when we beat them 2-1, the same thing that you said last week. But there are times when it's necessary to do that and times when it's not. We have to and had to do it in our first 4 home games of the season because of our first 4 away games of the season. So if we could come out of the first 8 games with 12 points, having won all 4 home games, I would say that is the perfect start for us. And if we pick up anything else away from home, fantastic. But it's times and things when to do it. I think that because of this run of fixtures, I understand the defensive mindset he's got when we go into these away games. I would like to see it. City is the freest hit that you could ever have in the league. If you go in it with zero expectations, anything that you get is fantastic. So why not try it? But you've got an opportunity to be free with your team. Give it a go. Give it a go.
Let's, especially against City. I mean, Haaland, another hat trick for him yesterday.
7 goals in 3 games.
Yeah, 7 goals in 3 games. He's only scored 1 against us, though. Only scored 1 against us.
Yeah. Some strikers don't score 7 goals in a season.
I know.
But it's 3 games.
I know. He scored more goals than Ivan Toney did last year in 3 games. But anyway, Christopher Ayer, I hope that injury is not serious. But I think you mentioned at the top of the show, Mads did a really good job coming in and filling in there. But fingers crossed, because I do like Ayer at right back, and then Janelt at left back. I think is better cover for Henry than we've had in certain situations. But I just hope that injury isn't too serious, because Ayer's probably been one of our better players this season. Him and Collins have been unreal. Defensively, we've just been really good. So yeah, let's move on. International break. We're not going to preview City just because it's quite a while away, and we're probably going to have an episode in the international break as well. But just immediate thoughts from the last 4 games, Craig, including the Colchester one.
I mean, if we had gone and got something from the Liverpool game, we would be absolutely raving about these first 4 games that we've had. The Colchester game, I'm not reading too much into. They was always going to be set up to be hard to beat, but we're in the next round of the Cup against Leyton Orient, the Russell Slade derby. So that's fantastic. We got exactly what we needed from the first 2 home games. We had to win the first 2 home games. 6 points from the first 3 Premier League games is fantastic. We're sitting pretty in 5th at the moment as well. So just finish the league now, just end it now, and we'll be happy. I don't think we could have asked for more. I really don't think we could have asked for more. It would have been fantastic to get something from Liverpool, but the way that they played, the way that they play at Anfield, I mean, come on, you're not really going to expect too much else. So I I cannot ask for more from what they've given us from our 2 home performances. I'm over the moon with the way that we've started. And I hope and pray that when Rico comes back, he can stay fit and it kicks us on for the rest of the season as well.
100%. I think the home form this season is going to be vital. We won 5 games at home last year, and we're already some ways of doing better than that this season. It just shows. Like, I'm trying not to get too excited about it, and I was maybe a little bit over optimistic after the Palace game, but I'm just seeing things that we didn't see last year, and obviously the injury curse still seems to be there in some form. Like you mentioned, let's hope Rico Henry comes back and doesn't get injured again. But Aaron Hickey's out for the season. Nunes, we don't know when we're going to see him. And I'm really excited about Nunes. Genuinely, it just adds more to our attacking options, and I do think he's going to make some appearances this season. It's just a case of when. But just in terms of going forward, defensively, we've been much better than we were last year. It's just looking good. And if Damsgaard can nail down a position in the midfield, honestly, going forward, I'm not thinking about, not that I was at this point last season, I'm not thinking about, how we're going to stay in the league. But if we don't get the injuries, there's worse teams than us in this league from watching what I've watched so far. I mean, Southampton look like they might be doomed anyway if they carry on playing the way they're playing. Yeah. But we're looking up as opposed to looking down. And barring no injuries.
Well, we want teams looking over their shoulder at us, not us looking over our shoulders at other teams. So if we can carry on playing the way that we are playing, we will be causing lots of teams, lots of problems this season. Lots of teams, lots of problems.
You mentioned Orient. God, that would have been a fun away day. Imagine Brisbane Road again. That would have been class.
Would have been.
It's a great draw to have because playing against them, it's almost a vie into the next round. I say that now, but we did lose to Gillingham last year, so I'm not.
Well, touch wood. And then we went and beat Man City. So let's.
It's very true, but oh my God, Orient away would have been fantastic. That would have been a proper party day. But yeah, looking forward to that one. Who's just before we wrap? Who's impressed the most for you? Obviously, we've mentioned Bryan. Damsgaard's been good when he's played. But standout performer, I think for me, it's got to be Bryan so far.
Yeah, Bryan's been fantastic. But I'm going to stick with the GKU and say that I think Flecken's been fantastic so far this season. He had a couple of little moments yesterday, distribution-wise, where maybe he hasn't quite made the right decision. But other than that, I think he's been perfect. People were saying after the Colchester game that Valden Martin should be starting because he saved the penalty, which, by the way, was one of the worst penalties I've ever seen. They can't take much from that. But one thing I will say from the Colchester game is I thought that Valden Martin's distribution left much to be admired. Do you know what I mean? He's got a bit of work to do to be able to get on the levels of Mark Flecken. Nathan Collins, unbelievable. Yeah, absolutely fantastic first 3 games. Nathan Collins.
The Irish Maldini. He's been class. And do you know what? It pisses me off as well because people were actually saying that Collins has been an awful signing for us so far. And I've always said, and I think we've always said, there is a player in there. There definitely is a really good player in there. And I think we've seen that in the first 3 games. Even against Liverpool, like he was still really good. Yeah. So yeah, it's been positive. I think especially defensively, we've not been as stupid as we were last year.
When we did our season preview, we was talking about the Wolfsburg game, saying every time we go forward, we look like scoring, but every time they come forward, we look like conceding. Besides the 2 counters that Liverpool got on us in that game, I don't think we've looked like conceding at all so far. Yeah. Cross that carries on, but we are playing City next, so that's a bit of a difficult one to go into. But we have been so defensively solid, and I'm very, very pleased with the way that we started this season. Very pleased.
For sure. I think that'd be a good point to wrap things up, Craig. The Ealing Road podcast will be back during the international break with a special episode. I'm pretty sure I just need to tie some loose ends with that one, but hopefully we'll be back during the international break. But yeah, keep your eyes peeled across the socials for that one. Just before we go, remember to comment down below with your thoughts of the last 4 games. How have we done? Who stood out to you? Does Mikkel Damsgaard need to lock down a place in the starting 11? We think so. Do you think so? Let us know. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube and Spotify channels. Shameless plug as well. New YouTube channel. I did it at the top. I do it again. Mike Live and 5. I've launched that. It's going to be weekly videos. I'm also on TikTok, so find me there. And yeah, at the Ealing Road on Twitter, at Ealing Road Pod on Instagram. Craig, it's been a pleasure as always.
Up the bees.
There it is. Up the bees.